Now we're going to talk about rock geometries, and this has to do with the crustal deformation part of this lecture. And what we mean by deformation is just things are deformed in some way, and we'll talk about how that happens. And of course, we're talking about the crust of the Earth, where we have the solid rocks that we can see at the top of the Earth. We're going to start out with how rocks are typically laid down, at least sedimentary rocks, as horizontal beds, and then move on from there. So to talk about rock geometries, we have to be able to actually see the rocks. And we can see this in different ways, but one is if they're exposed at the surface of the Earth. If we do see rocks like this exposed at the surface of the Earth that are not for landscaping and brought in, but connected to all of the rocks underneath them, we would call this a rock outcrop, O-U-T-C-R-O-P. So the rocks are cropping out of the ground, so we call that a rock outcrop. This is an example of a rock outcrop that's showing layers of sedimentary rock. Most of the layers of sedimentary rock in here are sandstone, these thicker layers that are sticking out. Some of the layers that are more indented are shale, here and here and here. But all these rocks are this is an outcrop of rocks, and it's showing that in general, sedimentary rocks are laid down as horizontal layers. And of course, the one at the bottom is the oldest because the other layers had to be put on top of it. So we go from the oldest layer at the bottom here to the youngest layer in this area would be at the top here. However, sometimes we can get rocks that started out as horizontal layers, and we can end up with something like this. We would say these are tilted rock layers. They're tilted at some angle, so they're kind of going down into the ground in one direction or the other. And how would these tilted rock layers form? Well, they can form in a number of ways, but one way to kind of relate back to horizontal rocks is we could just have a disruption in the layers of sedimentary rocks, as is shown up here. In this case, it's because there's a fault underneath the ground, and the fault is pushing this side up or pulling this side down. And so on the surface of the Earth, we kind of get this higher area here and lower area here. And we can see that here we have horizontal rocks, here we have horizontal rocks, but in between, the rocks are going down in this direction from right to left. This sort of crustal deformation, where we have flat rocks on one side, flat rocks on the other side, and a slide or a slope in between, is called a monocline. M-O-N-O-C-L-I-N-E, monocline.